Thanks for stopping by. I'd like to preface this video by saying it is not a knitting tutorial, but it means to have something playing in the background while you work on your own knitting project. If you're like me and really enjoy having something on while you work, sometimes the content you like to watch is very visually engaging and you're several hours in and haven't gotten nearly as far along in your project as you would have liked to. So that's where I come in. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. My apologies for cutting across my line of vision. I thought I saw a spider on the wall, but it was just a little mark and it was in my peripherals, and I was like, oh no, like I cannot go on knowing that something might bite me later. So there's that. It is Sunday evening. It's about 4:45 and this is take 2 of the intro because my partner just so happened to run up the stairs and use the restroom, which is right next to me, so I didn't want you guys to hear all of that. And of course I'm explaining what just happened, even though you probably don't even want to know or care to know. But anyway, what is new and what is good with you? What's new and good with me is that I will say, Jenny, if you are watching, my job delivered some holiday treats to the people who work there, and I got some peanut brittle, which is something I actually haven't had before. So I'm kind of eating that a little bit at a time. I'm not too sure what I think of it yet. I got some peppermint bark, and I got some granola that had like nuts and all sorts of other things that it's granola, but it's kind of like more like a trail mixy kind of granola, but it had chia seeds in it. And for those of you who are like, what the heck are you talking about? Jenny, one of my subscribers here, I follow her on Instagram, and I'm giving you some credit here, Jenny. You post like these mouth-watering pictures of things you eat throughout your day, and she's vegan. I don't know if I'm giving too much of your super duper personal information, but you're vegan, and all of your plated food just looks so delicious, and everything looks just, it always makes me hungry, even if I've already eaten recently and I see what you post and I'm like, man, that looks delicious. But Ginny had shared a photo recently of a meal and it had chia seeds in it, and I have not had chia seeds as a food before. I know of chia pets and I've seen chia pets and know that you spread the seeds on the little ceramic thing and you water it and it sprouts and all that good stuff. So I hadn't actually ingested any chia seeds before, so I asked her what they're like. And yes, they are crunchy when they're dry. I love to mix my granola with either like a plant-based milk. I don't really drink a lot of regular milk. I usually use it for cooking, and then if I have some left over, I'll finish it off with cereal or put it in coffee or tea or something. But I personally buy for my own just palatable pleasure plant-based milk. And I was really into soy for a long time, but then oat milk came along, and I love oat milk more than soy. It just has like a more neutral taste to me, and I don't really like the nut milks because they always taste like whatever nut they are, and I'm kind of particular about what kinds of nuts I eat. So just taste wise, really. But yeah, anyway, oat milk or whatever. So I actually decided to have the granola with some yogurt, because that's another favorite of mine. Yogurt and granola, or granola with milk, some kind of milk. And when I put the yogurt with the granola that had the chia seeds in it, they were crunchy on the inside, but then like the outside got really slimy. It was very interesting. It was a texture that was like bizarre. Not in a bad way, it's just not something I had experienced before. Like, I've had tapioca pearls, but they're usually like yay big and like gummy all around. So maybe this chia seeds were still softening up, but like the inside was still kind of crispy, but the outside was slimy. And because I have, you can maybe see from here, but like I have spaces between my teeth. Most people do, but like some of mine are kind of more like gaps than they are just like little crevices, and so like the chia seeds are like getting stuck in those, so I was constantly having to like breathe out of my mouth like through my teeth to kind of like dislodge them. So it's kind of like a game at the same time. It's very much like, what an interesting experience. But now that I've had them, coincidentally, I wasn't planning on buying any anytime soon, but it was something on my radar, like maybe I'll try these sometime. But my work gifted us granola and other little snacky things, and it happened to have chia seeds in it. So now I can say what's new with me is that I've now tried chia seeds, both dry and wet form or moistened form, and not like a die-hard fan of them, but I'm not opposed to having them in other versions or variations in the future. So there's that. So yeah, that was my lunch. And so after I finish filming with you guys, I'm going to have dinner because I have to edit and stuff. But so for today's video, I'm deciding on, at the moment I'm filming this, I'm deciding what to call this video because I have several iterations of this particular pattern. And it's funny because when I put the name in the title, I think because people are searching for the Rhyolite sock themselves, these videos get tons of views, but like not a length of time that people watch them. So if there are people who have already clicked out of this, I'm guessing they've figured out that this is not what they're here for, which is funny because somebody else had commented on a previous video where I was working on this and they said I talk too much, and I had replied back that I did state at the beginning of the video that it's not a knitting tutorial, and they were thinking it was, even though I had said it wasn't. So making that clear again, this isn't a tutorial. I do not do tutorials on my channel because I am just not good at stuff. I have no expertise where I am confident or have the right angles to show you guys and explain things, nor do I want to like show patterns that other people may have put a lot of time and effort into making that I wouldn't want to like take away from them showing other people how to work on their own patterns. So I kind of feel like that, but at the same time it's like I don't want to get in trouble for like stealing the pattern and then showing you how to do it. So I just talk about the ones that I'm working on, and then you can find 1,000,001 other people who do tutorials. But I'm guessing we're gonna continue to call it whatever it was when I started working on this, and it's been so long I can't even remember what it was. But I have a finished sock, finally. I had my partner put it on a few days ago, and it fits. I'm so happy. I have been working on this one sock for probably over a year now, off and on. It's very much been like a back burner project because I already live with this individual, my partner, and you know, I'm like, if I'm gonna make something for you, you know, I know where you live, we live together, what's the rush? But I really had prioritized getting my gifts ready for my friends and family that I needed to mail things off to, so I had really neglected working on this sock all the way through. But finally at the end of 2020 I just chugged right on through and I was able to finish. And because I had learned some new skills along the way, I was able to close up the top without dealing with the Kitchener stitch like I had to work with the very first time I did this pattern. The first time I did this pattern, I made it as a gift, trying to make it as a gift initially. One, I didn't follow their guidelines on their website, like Tin Can Knits blog site, where they showed you kind of like how to set up your stitches first. So like my rounds when I was beginning with a purl, I had these horrible gaps. I was starting on a purl like in the middle of this purl like bridge area across the instep. So I had this weird seam in the middle of one sock, and then the second sock I'm like, okay, let me do this differently. That one was a little bit better, but because of how the yarn was cut, it was gifted to me. Some reason there was like a cut all the way through, so there were lots of just odds and ends strings, and I didn't want to run out of yarn, so I was adding those to my socks. So one sock looks good on the outside, but the inside has all these long spindly strands because I was like, I'll just knot them, and I didn't even bother like weaving in the ends. So one day, if I feel super ambitious, I might go back through and weave in all of those ends of those loose little strands of yarn I have. But I wear them every now and then. They're fine. They feel nice on my feet. But this sock finally finished for my partner, and it is time for me to work on the second sock. I've already cast on. I've already knit through the 1.5 inch of length I needed for the cuff, so I can actually start just working in pattern down the length of the leg. And the leg needs to be like, I think 7 inches long, 7.5 inches long, something like that, before I can start working on the heel, shaping the heel, picking up the stitches again, and then knitting until I have 8 inches of length for the foot part before I can start decreasing for the toe again. So I have you see, I have, this is where I am right here, and this is how long I need to be before I can even do anything else. So I have quite a ways to go. So this is just one of those. This week, I just threw my needle somewhere. It's often they roll right under my butt when I'm sitting here with you guys. And this is the palette yarn by Knit Picks. And I believe it's the shade or the color Fudge. I'm not sure, but it kind of looks like my shirt. Almost the same color. This is more of a brown though, but my shirt is like a burnt orange, and I wasn't planning on having it look the same. I actually wore this shirt to match my clay and crochet earrings that I have, so I was happy about that. But yes, I am working on this one, and it's weird because this pattern starts the beginning of the round on the side of the foot, and I'm used to a lot of the other socks I've been knitting start their round at the very middle of the heel area. So getting used to that and to remember to shift everything around later is important. So if you haven't done the Rye Light sock by Tin Can Knits, check below. There is a pattern available on Ravelry that you can download and work on yourself. It's super popular. They're like really popular. They have all kinds of other kind of variations of this pattern style for other things like sweaters. I think they have maybe even a hat or something like that. So it's like a pattern that they've used and applied it to other works. So very nice. This is only the 4th sock, so 2nd pair of socks, but 4th actual sock that I've knit using this pattern, and it's a fine pattern, but I think because I started with this before I kind of knew more ins and outs about socks. I was kind of confused at the beginning, but now I feel more confident with it. So I think if I was ever to do this pattern again, I would have better luck without struggling like I did the first time. But I I wouldn't use this palette yarn for socks again because it's so, the twist is kind of loose, so it kind of splits. Not terribly so, but I would prefer like a tighter stitch, or like kind of like a roving thing where it doesn't even have like a twist to it. It's just like one clumpy long bit of yarn. So that's just me, but I feel so good. I'm gonna be so happy when I'm finished with these socks because I've owed it to my partner to have them done for a while. But, you know, with prioritizing other projects that have more of a time-sensitive deadline, these were just like a, well, you know, I've knit for everybody else. Why don't I knit something for you too? But then it became, oh, nope, everybody else needs their gifts right now. So I need to put this aside and then work on it a little bit, put it aside. Wow, that was hard to get that loop over there. So that's kind of where I've been with this project. But now that it's on my to-do for 2021, it's been written on my knitting calendar now. I will start it. So technically, I'm working on this a day ahead because if you remember my last video, I talked about how I believe that the beginning of the week starts on Monday, and here it is Sunday, so I should still be working on my future sister-in-law's sock, my brother's fiance sock. But just for the sake of having a video out and ready that's actually knitting and not just me talking about a pattern book this time around, I thought, why not go ahead and work on this one. But I've also been working on this one kind of at my desk a little bit. But, you know, like when I have a little bit of downtime at work, which is coming fewer and far between moments. So it's kind of there just to work on a little bit at a time. But now I get to dedicate a whole week to just focusing on this project. Not to say that it's the only project I'm working on, but it's the focus of the week. So I can pepper in my brother's fiance sock if I would like to, or I could probably even work on my magic number blanket if I wanted to, or something like that. Just another project that I already have going on. I can kind of pick up and work on just here and there, but most of the week is dedicated to the main project that's on the calendar. So this is my round 2, which is, or you know, it's a 1-2 round. You're knitting, then you're purling across the instep, and then the next round you're knitting across the instep. So that's what I'm doing now. Is just knitting across, and then after I finish knitting across this, I'm gonna pull my topic out of my bag so we can have a focused conversation for a few minutes while we work. So let me know in the comments. 1, do you consider Monday the start of your week, or is it Sunday? And 2, let me know if you're working on anything new, or if you're picking up some old familiar projects that you've kind of put off on the sidelines. Maybe part of your New Year's resolution is to finish up some projects, like my goals, not resolutions, but goals, are for myself. I'd love to know. So I'll finish this instep here. Alright, so that's nice. Very nice. Okay, so let's pull out a topic. And don't forget that if you'd like me to pull a topic out that you have suggested, let me know in the comments what you'd like me to add to my baggie here, and then I'll put your name on the back, so if I pull something that you've suggested, then I can give you credit for the topic of the day. Oh, this is an interesting one. Do you wear shoes in your house? Slippers? Socks? I do. I wear slippers. Well, actually, I wear flip-flops because sometimes it's kind of like whatever's on sale. I go through them quite a bit because I just wear them. And I wear flip-flops or house shoes because I have cats, and my cats tend to scatter. Well, we have pellet litter, so it's not like everywhere, but their fur is everywhere, and I'm very particular about tracking things into areas and just like where you walk, and stuff from the outside coming inside, and all of that kind of just creeps me out. Plus, I've grown up in a home where you always take your shoes off when you come inside. Like, there are occasions, like when you're bringing in groceries, or you have to run in really quick to like grab your keys or your phone or something, like that's fine, but you don't just walk around your whole house with your shoes on. So I always take my shoes off when I come home, and I put on my my flip-flops. I used to have like other slippers. I actually have some Crocs downstairs that once my flip-flops break, I don't have another backup pair. Like, the ones I'm wearing now are my backup pair. So once they're broken, then I will be wearing my Crocs. I go in and out of the basement to do laundry, and it's dusty and dirty down there, so having some shoes on when I just need to go downstairs is good. So I wear my house shoes. I have my outside shoes and I have my inside shoes. And if I just did a deep clean, like swept, mopped, scrubbed the floors, everything is spick and span, then maybe for a week I can get away with just having like my socks on or something. But I always like take them off before I go into the bed, or like I brush off the bottom so that I don't track any litter or any like grody dirt or anything into the bed or onto the couch or anything. So we're very, very particular about what kinds of materials get touched by what surfaces and stuff. So we're particular. But it always freaks me out when I watch TV or something and I see people sitting on a couch and they have their whole outside shoe on the couch. There was when I was in undergrad at college, one of my roommates, now we lived in housing that was provided by the school that we went to, but it was like apartments that were leased nearby, so we already had like this contract thing, and they would rent furniture, so like our bed, our couch, dining table, all of that stuff was rented by a company, and so it wasn't really ours, but she would put her tennis shoes on the couch. She would sit on the couch with her shoes on the cushions, and I was appalled. So, needless to say, it was really rare that you'd see me sitting on the couch. I'd usually just go to my room in the apartment, because I'm like, I'm just gonna sit on my bed because I don't trust these women with their shoes, their nasty city shoes on the furniture. Like, anything and everything is on the bottom of your shoe. You could have a parasite, you could have a ringworm, like who knows what, and you're like rubbing it all, well, not rubbing it, but like, putting your outside feet on the thing. Ugh. Like, what if somebody wanted to take a nap? Now their head is laying on the dirt spot because your outside shoes were like, I don't understand that. So now if you do that, I'm curious why you think it's safe to do that. I'm hoping most of the folks who watch this agree with me that that's kind of gross. Now, maybe you don't take your shoes off when you come in, but you definitely don't put them on the things you lay on or sit on, like your couch or your bed. Like, you wouldn't wear your shoes on top of your furniture. So I wouldn't do that. No, thank you. So my partner and I are no shoes in the house people. When our friends come over, I mean, sometimes, like, if they're just going to be downstairs, I'll be like, yeah, no, it's fine, because, you know, I'm the one who cleans and mops anyway. Like, I feel a little bit better, like, knowing where they're going to be, and they're not going to be here for the whole day walking around everywhere, so it's, like, fine. But for the most part, we do ask that our guests take their shoes off. And most of the time when company comes over, I have already cleaned, because we do have a lot of friends who have allergies to cats, so I always want to make sure that everything is like nice and as cat fur free as possible, so that they're comfortable when they're in the home and not like having a bad reaction because we have like cat dander everywhere. So I like vacuum the couch and de-fur it with like my fur remover. I'm dusting, I'm sweeping, everything like that, and mopping, so that like all of as much fur as possible has been like contained. But since we don't have allergies, like the fur itself doesn't bother us as much. It's messy, and then it cross-contaminates things. Like I mentioned in the previous video how cat fur was like stuck to my face because it's just residually floating around everywhere. So there's that. But no, we have our slippers. We wear our slippers around. I'm kind of excited to wear the Crocs though, because they have like a little bit of a platform on them, so I imagine my feet won't be as cold because there's like a little bit of a barrier between me and the floor when I'm walking around, instead of like the half-inch bit of foam that I have on my flip-flop. But that is us. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you're like that too. Growing up, I'd always ask, and I still ask, you know, if we go over, if we go over to a friend's house. It's been forever since I went to a friend's house. But I always ask, you know, should I take off my shoes? And they're like, you can do whatever. Then I just take them off, because I'm like, I don't want to be tracking anything into your home. And most of the time I kind of go by example too. Like if I don't see them take off their shoes, then I'll ask just in case. But most of the time it's pretty clear what the rules are of the home. But yeah, shoes are a necessity, or at least like some kind of foot covering. It's been a very long time since I've walked flat out barefoot around, and plus because it's like kind of cold having hardwood floors and stuff, I don't like that feeling of the cold on my feet. So even if it's a hot day, I'd still rather have like socks on to protect me from just direct contact with the floor. You never know, man, what you might step on. There was this one time, so back at, not quite related at all, but when I was a little kid, at my home where my mother was, we had, well, it wasn't really, it was called the family room, and it was basically like this den. It wasn't like our living room, because we already had a living room. And then there was just a room, like a kind of like a big playroom. There's a TV in there, books and games and stuff. And we would play in there. And it had a TV. And it was just a nice little room. And in there, my brother had this little cheapy race car with the antenna on the top. And I didn't think anything of it, but it was we had carpet in that room. And the antenna, I guess the little ball at the top had broken off. So it was just like this sharp wire poking out. And somehow, however the race car was situated on the floor, it was kind of upside down, I guess, so the antenna was in the carpet on the floor, and I was just running around, and I happened to pass by it, and my pinky toe got snagged on this antenna, and it, just thinking about it now was like the queasiest thing, like to have it hooked into my toe. And it wasn't like, it was like, because the bottom of your foot has really thick skin, it didn't like make me bleed, but it was like caught in that layer where it's kind of like not gonna bleed, but it's still kind of creepy and gross to look at. And I was just like, I'm gonna pass out now because this is disgusting. But I had to get it out, so I had to pull it out of my foot, and I was just like so mortified after that. Blech. So yeah, having shoes on, or at least house shoes, is safe, I guess. If you're paranoid like me about stepping on something that might hurt you, then you definitely want to be careful. Oh, a former coworker of mine, she's retired now, one of my knitting buddies, she told me she stepped on a needle once because she crafts and things, and she had, I guess, lost a needle or it rolled off a table or something, and she had stepped on it and had to get it removed from her foot. And I was like, oh, that's so scary. I could never. I would probably pass out. There have been so many instances where I just wanted to barf because something happened to me, and it was just like the sheer experience was just gag worthy. Not the same as, the same topic of like wearing house shoes, but just thinking of any events where you step on something and you don't know you've stepped on it and it's gonna hurt you really bad is just so scary. Oh, I couldn't even. Alright, so we didn't do that many rounds, but I kind of exhausted the topic, and I don't want to go on too long, too far, but we've made a few rounds, just a little bit, a little peek at the pattern. As you guys know, I have a few other videos working on this particular pattern, so if you want to see the final result, I'd say check those out, but I'm much, much, much more in tune with what to do with this pattern, not only because I've done it a few times now, but because I have a better knowledge of sock making, that I think this last sock is just going to be like the pinnacle of awesome Rhyolite sock pattern making, and I don't think I will need to do another one after this to be like, okay, this time I'm gonna get it for sure. Like, I think this is it. Like, I got it. I just need to remember what to do each section, but really it's just knitting for the length now before I get to shaping the heel and then doing the gusset and all of that. The only difference is that because the sock starts on the side of the foot, the round begins on the side of the foot instead of the middle. I just have to remember like what to do, because I've been knitting on circulars so long. It's kind of just weird to get back to DPNs and then remembering like beginning of round is here, and the Rhyolite pattern wants you to like shift things around a couple times to start your round at a new section. So remembering that part too is going to be important, but for the most part, like, I have it starting on a knit each round. Like, I've got my stitches evenly distributed the way they need to be. So I shouldn't have any problems finishing this sock. So with that being said, thank you so much for well, not really tuning in, but watching this video and joining me again for another knitting episode. Again, let me know in the comments if there are any cool topics that you would like me to pull out of my bag at some point, and I will definitely, if it's, not crazy and weird, I'll definitely add it to the list of things to pull out of the baggie of topics, and then I will tell everybody thank you to so and so for this submission. This is what we're going to talk about today. But yeah, I'm excited to just keep working on all of the other things that I have on my calendar of knitting projects this year, and I'm thinking so far so good. We're off to a good start. I already have things written down, and that's just the first step, is identifying what I'm going to work on, and the next step is just actually sticking with that. So we will see. I'm hoping that the calendar will hold me accountable